Morning, everybody. This week's Parshat is Acharei Mois Kedoshim, and in Parshat Acharei Mois, it talks about the holiest place in the world. So the holiest place in the world is Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael itself, it's Yerushalayim. In Yerushalayim itself, it's Har HaBayis, the mountain. And in Har HaBayis itself, it's where the Beis HaMikdash is. And the Beis HaMikdash itself, it's Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Mokim, that's the place, the holiest place in the world. You have Zman, the holiest time in the world, is you have Shabbos, then you have Yom Tovim, and on top of that, the highest level of holiness is Yom Kippur. Then you have a nation of Jewish people. They are holier. Atem tiyu limamlechas kohenim v'goy kadosh. They have a certain level of holiness. They have a responsibility that goes with it. And then you have, in the nation itself, you have Kohanim, Levim, and Yisraelim. And the Kohanim take a higher position. And in the Kohanim itself, you have the Kohen Gadol, the highest Kohen. That he is the one, that on the holiest day of the year, the holiest person goes into the holiest place. And he davens, v'hisvada, first he prays, and he asks for forgiveness for himself and for his wife and his family. And then he prays for everybody else. So it's brought down. The halacha is that based on the pasuk that it says v'chiper ba'adoi uva'ad beisai, he will ask for forgiveness for himself and for his household. So the Gemara says in the Mishnah says in Maseches Yuma, beisai zu ishtoi v'chiper ba'adoi. He will ask for forgiveness for himself and for his house. House is his wife, meaning to say that he has to be able to ask for forgiveness for his family. And if he's not married, he can't ask for forgiveness for his family. So he could be a 90-year-old Kohen Gadol that was married all his life, and a couple of months before Yom Kippur, his wife passed away, and he cannot serve and be in the Beis HaMikdash and go into the Holy of Holies unless he remarries. Otherwise, he has to give up the position to somebody else. Why? Because he has to have a connection of being married. What's so important than being married? So this is where Yiddishkeit, Judaism, is way different than any other religion. Any other religion, the holier to get, the more you have to be separated. The more you have to give up. You have to be a guru on a mountain, lahavdil, and over there, then, as you didn't talk to anybody for 30 days, then you're okay, then you're holy. When it comes to Yiddishkeit, we have to serve Hashem. Specifically, the only way to serve Hashem is in this world. Is being attached to the world, and with the world, that should not be a contradiction. That should be a way of serving Hashem. It's actually interesting. I was just listening to a podcast last night about Rav Moshe Feinstein. There was somebody. He was a Ben Bias. He was from 11 years old. He was in Rav Moshe's house, and he was used to work with Rav Moshe. Used to help him. He started with doing the Shana Tova cards back then, and the whatever it was, and he became a Ben Bias. So he said an interesting insight. Moshe would learn, right? But there was one time someone came to him and told him, Moshe, it's funny. People come to you and call you on the phone, and people come to your house, people ask you, you should have set hours. 3 hours you're learning, 3 hours you take questions, when you do this, when you do that. Why you push it? It's all tzimish. See, he says, I should not have time for somebody else. That's gaiva. It's ego. Now, I'm not saying a person should or should not have, but to Moshe, this was a very special thing, that if he could help somebody else, that took precedence over everything else. He wasn't holier than anybody else, that he doesn't have time for somebody else. He was a very, 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 he was one of the biggest, he's one of the biggest guys out there. Especially in the halachic world, he's one of the biggest guys out there. But at the same time, when it comes to helping somebody else, he had all the time in the world. You have to have it. There has to be a balance of being able to serve Hashem in every single place where you are. It's not about secluding yourself. It's about including yourself with everything else. So we learned this in this week's parsha, that even the Kohen Gadol, when he's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the holiest place with God, nobody else goes in there. He has to be married. At that time, he has to be married. Otherwise, he can't go in there. So we have to see how these things that we're doing in our lives, we have to be serving Hashem with everything we do. Every moment you have, when you're married, with your children, with your business, with the people that are nudniks, everybody, whoever it is that you're dealing with, you have to know that you are connected to Hashem in this moment, and how am I serving Hashem in this specific moment with the problems that I have. Hashem should help. We should be able to reach the highest places, just like the Kohen Gadol. We should be zeichet in the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu V'Neimar.